Hi there, my name is Mona. Have you ever met a notebook man? I haven't met one either, but the fact is that I am one because different inscriptions periodically appear and disappear on my body. In fact, I was born like this. For some reason, at first, doctors and my parents blamed everything on allergies, not seeing anything unusual in eruptions on my skin. That's why I was treated for allergies for a long time, but as you might have guessed, there was no result because I've never had any allergies. I remember very well when my mother first saw an inscription on my body, although I was very small at that time. It was just one of the liveliest recollections of my life. It happened when I was playing and my mother was walking by. She immediately shouted, "Oh my gosh, Edward, she has mouse written on her cheek." Then my parents looked at the inscription for a long time, took some photos of it, and filmed videos, and I couldn't understand what was happening. I was very scared and sorry that no one bothered to explain anything to me. The next time the inscription appeared on me, my mother suspected my father that he was the one putting it on my skin intentionally just for hype. I don't know how she could ever think that. Dad, of course, knows a lot about popularity, but not that much. Later, doctors confirmed that the inscriptions and symbols on my body appear by themselves without anyone's help, and the reason for their appearance was considered unclear. I was scared every time because sometimes the inscriptions written on my skin looked very strange. "I can't see," "Mom wants to poison me," and stuff like that. But then I got used to it. After all, you can't run away from yourself. It's not clear how, but the fame of my magical skin was rapidly spreading throughout the area, and soon everyone knew about me. At first, it didn't bother me, but then stories about me went beyond the boundaries of our city and state. That's when the real fun began. Some strange people began to crowd around my house, and at first it was not clear at all what they needed and why they were here. But then those people began to approach us on the street and asked us to tell us what inscriptions appeared on my body. They said that this was a sign and that I was kind of a chosen one, and the inscriptions written on me were predictions. Oh, that was absurd. They simply didn't know that if this was really true, then I would have already learned to fly, bathed in the volcano's lava, and spent 2 hours on the ocean floor without air. However, maybe everything just hasn't happened yet. Well, those are not my goals. Let's get back to those strange people. Their presence began to bother me very much. Because of them, I could neither go home nor leave it because the people who were always on duty had many questions for me. Will I get married this year? Will I buy an apartment? Will I go on vacation? Just crazy. And if you think that we didn't contact the police, then you're vastly mistaken. We called the police almost every day. Squads of policemen came and took my fans, but the next day new ones came in their place. Such an endless circle. At some point, my parents and I were already so used to the fact that they were constantly waiting for me there outside the door that these harmless people became an integral part of my life, so we stopped calling the police. A little bit later, I found out that they were not that harmless, so I was not out of the woods yet. One awful day, I was just kidnapped. They forced me into a bus and drove away. I found myself in a huge house, apparently a country house, where at least 24 of these blessed ones lived. They looked at me with their mysterious eyes and asked almost in unison when the end of the world would come. What the hell? What's the end of the world? You're all absolutely crazy, I told them and asked them to let me go. But one lady, who apparently was the most important person there, told me not to rush and stay with them for a while because they really need me. In fact, hearing this was very scary, and I didn't understand at all how I could escape from there, whether my parents could find me, and whether there were any guarantees that I would get out of there alive. It was just impossible to understand the plans of these people. They called me a saint, brought tons of apples to my feet, and sang some weird songs to me. I was also ready to sing with them and even dance if only they would let me go, but they answered me again and again that it was still too early. When different inscriptions appeared on my body, they carefully examined them, took pictures of them, and wrote them down in some kind of notebook. They really saw a hidden meaning in all of this. In a few days, I was already sick of their songs, of their blissful faces, and of apples. My favorite fruit turned into a hated one, and I sobbed my socks off. Meanwhile, my kidnappers brought a large tray with axes and knives of various sizes and began to dance around these objects. I immediately realized that they intended to sacrifice me and make a barbecue of me. From this, I went into hysterics and tried to fight my way to get out, but to no effect. They grabbed me and returned me to the same place, to my apples, to my stinking apples. After some time, from dancing or from the smell of apples, those blessed ones began to fall into a trance. Their eyes rolled, their bodies twitched as if from electric shocks, and they began to fall at my feet. I've seen this only on TV in programs about some cults. This seemed to be one such cult. But I don't want to become their victim. I want to go home. When I was about to faint from the horror and most of the people were already lying on the floor, there was a pop. Thick smoke appeared around, and a man in uniform came out of it. He took me in his arms and carried me somewhere. I believed with all my heart that this was a policeman, not a butcher intending to make some barbecue out of me. A couple of minutes later, I was on the street where there were ambulances, firefighters, and a police car. Rescue! Hooray, they found me! As it turned out, I spent 8 days as a prisoner of those sectarians. I became very thin during this time because they didn't give me anything to eat except for those damn apples. Some of them found out that I really loved this fruit, so they all began to bring them to me as sacrifices. And as for that tray of sharp objects, the sectarians wanted to cut a whole ton of apples in front of my eyes so that I could bathe in them. They hoped that after that, more inscriptions would appear on my skin and they could write their book faster. That's it. They really started it all to release a book with predictions from the skin of a saint. Can you imagine? Later, the policeman advised our family to change our place of residence so that no one in the new place would know about my peculiarity and wouldn't pick me for another goddess or saint. And so we did. Literally, in a single day, my parents and I collected all our things and drove away to the other side of the country. This was the farthest point. And if it was possible to drive even further, then we would have done it, believe me. But now I see the faces of those sectarians at every step, and I try to avoid communicating with people in every possible way. I'm also afraid that the inscription may appear on my face when I'm out in public. Then all efforts would be in vain, and half of the world or the whole world would know about me again. I certainly never dreamed of such glory. You know, after all of this, I myself wondered, what does it mean and what is happening to my body? Am I really some kind of chosen one or saint? Do you have any idea what the appearance of those inscriptions on my body means? Have you ever heard about something like this? Write your answers in the comments. Click the thumbs up if you liked my story, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel so as not to miss a new cool story tomorrow.